Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining everyone today. This is the second in our series of the Business Growth Blueprint series, the Essential Toolkit, Business Toolkit, which is a webinar series that is leading up to the Let's Grow Glendale Small Business Summit, which is happening next month. And then we have a few that are taking place afterwards as well, really creating a ecosystem of support for all of you, the small business owners that really drive the economy of the city of Glendale forward. So if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Last time we had a fantastic webinar around time management and making sure that you are spending your time effectively. If you didn't get a chance to tune in for that, do not worry. The recording is available online at our chooseglendaleca.com website. Today's topic is going to be focusing in on effective negotiation strategies. And once again, we are very fortunate to have the fantastic Eddie Sumar leading this session. So as an introduction to Eddie again, Eddie Sumar is the founder of ERS Consulting Services and also a patron of the Otis Dream Project for Education Without Barriers in Zambia, Africa. Where they say that they develop useful talent to fuel the business economy. Eddie is an award-winning international trade financing consultant, and he's a consultant with Synergist and the chair of the Education and Youth Skills Development for the program for the Inland Empire Regional Chamber of Commerce, pardon me. He was recently appointed by U.S. Secretary of Commerce to serve as a member of the California Inland Empire District Export Council, a term which lasts from 2020 through 2027. He is also a prolific writer and has authored 17 books and workbooks. Some of the most notable among them, I shouldn't say some of the most notable, some notable ones among them is From the Cutting Board to the Cutting Edge, A Treasure Hunt with Otis, and others. So we are very fortunate to have such a fantastic public speaker with us today who is able to share really large breadth of experiences, both lived experiences and secondhand experiences from helping other companies grow in excellence. So I'll hand it over to you, Eddie. Thank you so much for being with us today and look forward to the presentation.
Thank you very much, David. Good morning to all. Thanks to Jennifer Coronado for helping and for the City of Glendale Community Development and Economic Development Department, for a whole team, from the director to Shua to Jenny De La Mora, practically everybody, Bradley, they're doing amazing job helping the small business community. Because really, when we look at big companies, every single big company started as a small company. Even when they merge and acquire, they have acquired a smaller company. Take the pharmaceuticals, for example. In order to grow, they're buying a smaller, innovative pharmaceutical companies or scientists, so they can grow and grow. So the small business community is the heartbeat of every city, it's the heartbeat of every community. And like last time, we talked about time management, because when you think of a small business, it's not the business itself, it's the people that make up the business. So time management is key because you need to understand how to manage all your priorities. But today, you're going to add another tool into your tool bag: effective negotiation strategies. Because when you're in business, you're going to negotiate with yourself, with your employees, with the city, ordinances, regulations, vendors. There is a host of relationships that you are engaged in. And guess what? Every relationship requires negotiation. So we thought, as a second tool in your tool bag, effective negotiation strategies will help you to be an amazing and effective individual, but also an amazing and a successful business. Now, when we think of negotiation, notice the subtitle: a win-win approach to collaborative and creative solutions. Many times when we think of negotiations, some people, they thrive on the idea, conquer, and I win, and you are conquered and you lose. No. For a lifelong, for example, benefit, think of win-win. Every party to the negotiation should win. You win, they win. And in order to get to that win-win solution, there is one quadrant, is collaboration. Because when you look at the different strategies that we'll talk about later, there is competition, there is accommodation, there is avoidance, there is compromise, but then there is what I call heavenly bliss. That is the quadrant of collaboration. So one thing I'll be focusing on is the value of collaborative approach. And collaboration requires creativity, because there is no such thing as a yes or no, a black and white. No, even between black and white, there is the colors of gray, the different shades of gray. The rainbow has different colors. So when you think of solutions, think of a continuum of a variety of approaches. So now, let's put the agenda. We are going to define negotiation. Next, we're going to talk about the different styles, the principles, and one immutable fact is that negotiation is not the end, it's the process to an end. We'll share some practical steps to effective negotiation, and then I added the global dimension, because think about it, Glendale. Yes, it's a city in the United States, but I lived in Glendale for over 11 years. So I know Glendale is extremely diverse. It's global, which means even when you are doing business in Glendale, you are doing business from people from around the world. So which means, do you understand a global dimension? So I infused that into this presentation, understanding that negotiation is not a one-size-fits-all. It doesn't just apply to one culture or to one setting. It's multicultural, and there is no fixed formula. And then we'll be talking about the key success factors, the KSAs, the KSFs, also the key success and achievement factors, and final thoughts. And then answer the real question. What is the real focus of effective negotiation? I wanted to start first with a short clip of the Pirates of the Caribbean, because it talks about a presentation on negotiation. So let's share.
Jack! It's not possible.
Let's stop just quickly. I want to do it something else here. Okay, that's fine. Getting the bigger screen.
Jack! It's not possible.
Not probable.
Where's Elizabeth?
She's safe, just like I promised. She's all set to marry Norrington, just like she promised. And you get to die for her, just like you promised. So we're all men of our word, really. Except for Elizabeth, who is, in fact, a woman.
Shut up! You're next!
You don't want to be doing that, mate.
No, I really think I do.
Your funeral.
Why don't I want to be doing it?
Well, because the HMS Dauntless, pride of the Royal Navy, is floating just offshore, waiting for you. Just hear me out, mate. You order your men to row out to the Dauntless, they do what they do best. Robert's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. There you are with 2 ships, the makings of your very own fleet. Of course, you'll take the Grandest as your flagship, and who's to argue? But what of the Pearl? Name me captain. I'll sail under your colors. I'll give you 10% of me plunder, and you get to introduce yourself as Commodore Barbossa. Savvy?
I suppose in exchange you wanted me not to kill the whelp.
No, it's all by all means. Kill the whelp. Just not yet. Wait to lift the curse until the opportune moment. For instance, after you've killed Norrington's men, every last one.
You've been planning this from the beginning. Ever since you learned my name. Yeah. I want 50% of your plunder.
15,
40.
25. I'll buy you the hat. A really big one. Commodore.
We have an accord.
All hands to the boats. Apologies. You give the orders.
Gents, take a walk.
I want to do something else. It looks like this was glitching. I don't know why it was working better. Okay, now we can do another presentation.
Jack! It's not possible.
Not probable.
Where's Elizabeth?
She's safe, just like I promised. She's all set to marry Norrington, just like she promised. And you get to die for her, just like you promised. So we're all men of our word, really. Except for Elizabeth, who is, in fact, a woman.
Shut up. You're next.
You don't want to be doing that, mate.
No, I really think I do.
Your funeral.
Why don't I want to be doing it?
Well, because the HMS Dauntless, pride of the Royal Navy, is floating just offshore, waiting for you. Just hear me out, mate. You order your men to row out to the Dauntless, they do what they do best. Robert's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. There you are with 2 ships. The makings of your very own fleet. Of course, you'll take the Grandest as your flagship, and who's to argue? But what of the Pearl? Name me captain. I'll sail under your colors. I'll give you 10% of me plunder, and you get to introduce yourself as Commodore Barbosa. Savvy?
I suppose in exchange you wanted me not to kill the whelp?
No, it's all by all means. Kill the whelp. Just not yet. Wait to lift the curse until the opportune moment. For instance, after you've killed Norrington's men, every last one.
You've been planning this from the beginning. Ever since you learned my name. Yeah. I want 50% of your plunder.
15,
40.
25. I'll buy you the hat. A really big one. Commodore.
We have an accord.
All hands to the boats. Apologies. You give the orders.
Gents, take a walk.
Good. So now Believe it or not, sometimes you look at glitches like this and you say, oh, in reality, in business, in negotiations, you're going to have too many glitches. So the goal is not to give up and find a way, a creative way. Because, like for the first clip, we didn't see the subtitles because there was some subtitle with the movie. So I wanted you to look at that. And also, notice how fast they were going. That's why I like this clip, because it doesn't stay on the screen for long. If you don't pay attention to things in the negotiation, they'll pass you by very quickly. So let's look at what was going through the screen. Did you notice at the beginning, to understand a negotiation, it says it begins positively and lightheartedly, which means in any negotiation, establish a friendly and willing atmosphere. This is very important. So the first lesson also that they showed, notice there were several lessons that they kept flashing. Enter into the negotiation confidently, even if not in a position of power. That is amazing. Many times, small businesses believe I'm negotiating with a giant. Like if you take a small business negotiating with a Costco, a Walmart, a Microsoft, and so forth, many times you feel these are big companies. I will not be confident in my negotiation. You don't have to feel that way. Based on one of the lessons from this movie, it says, enter into the negotiation confidently, even if not in position of power, because confidence is key. And how do you build that confidence but creating a command, being in command of who you are, your company, your branding, your reputation, understanding the level of your knowledge and quality, your expertise. And also, sometimes in negotiation, people try to threaten. I don't like that, because when you are threatening, you could create a negative atmosphere. But instead of threatening, what do people go into created deadlines, or the deal is only good for today. If you don't make a decision now, it was not going to be done tomorrow. So these are instead of threatening and being emotive, understand psychology and persuasion and influence by creating urgencies. Also, so that means you have to be a psychologist. When you think of negotiation, what this a clip of this movie shows, was a great deal of psychology between the pirates. Now, the second lesson, it says, always treat others with respect. Now, notice here what the actor was doing. He was practically appealing to flattery and to reason. But I go beyond flattery, because flattery is deceitful. I believe it's one of the tactics to avoid. You don't flatter, you tell the truth, but you build trust and respect. Another thing it says, don't be afraid to concede, because concession is really, some people said, I'm not going to concede. This is pride. So what you need to understand, if you want to get to a creative solution, to be collaborative, sometimes you have to give in to gain later. You give, you receive later. So don't be afraid to concede at the beginning of any negotiation or throughout the negotiation, because ultimately, we'll learn today, you need to fulfill all of your needs, and then your wants, and then your desires. If your needs are met, then concede by all means, because by doing that, you open the door so some of your wants and needs and desires also will be fulfilled, when all of your needs will be fulfilled. Also, one thing it said, define a goal, have a plan to achieve it. You see, again, as a business, notice how understanding negotiation is enhancing your business fundamentals, your business acumen. Because the first thing you do when you go to get a loan, the banker is going to say, do you have a business plan? Investors, do you have a business plan? If you're in business already, they want to look at your strategic plan. Planning is very important. So in negotiation, always remember, it's a process to an end. Therefore, do you have a plan? Your end is your vision. The process is your mission. These are the components of a key plan, having a goal and the way to reach that goal. The lesson 6 was always use a contract. You may find yourself be double-crossed. Here in the United States, contracts are very important, but here is a twist. A contract in China, a contract in Mexico, and other countries of the world, yes, a contract is a formality, but you should be ready to tear that contract and to accept new conditions. So again, but contracts are very important in the United States. So abide by the rules of the country you're in. But remember, if you are involved in international trade, when you negotiate a contract, that contract could be torn after you leave. They say yes, but it doesn't mean that even though they agreed that they're going to execute on that. What's important in international trade, in addition to any contract, is the relationship, the trust that you build. Because many people will not let down a human being, but they will let down a piece of paper. And the last lesson that we see in this is do not linger after the deal is closed. You may really risk undoing all your hard work. And this is very fascinating. There is a proverb that says, in the abundance of word, there will be transgression. In negotiation, once somebody says, yes, agreed, stop. Because sometimes when you say, and let me tell you one more thing, and let me give you one more benefit, you could undo the whole negotiation. So I thought this is an amazing tip from this movie, is that practically once you close the deal, say thank you, and move into execution. Now, let's define negotiation together. Stephen Kozicki, in fact, this presentation is based, I don't kid you, it's based on over 8 books that I read on negotiation. So I'm saving you to read over 1,000 pages. Some books are 100 pages, some books are 300 pages, but all the books that I tapped into to get this presentation done, plus my own experience and the experience of thousands of people that I met in my life. So practically, this is how they, from all the sources, they define the word negotiation. The art of reaching an agreement by resolving differences through creativity. I like the word art. I like the word creativity. Think about it. Artists have to be creative. So in negotiation, you become a creative artist. John Patrick Dolan said, negotiating is more than trading off with others for things you want. It's understanding people and discovering ways you can work together to produce positive results for everyone involved. Underline everyone involved. Imagine when a manager is negotiating a raise with an employee subordinate. Sometimes people think, I win, you lose. No. What is the need of the employee? What are the needs of the employer? And if both employee, manager, and subordinate, they work together, understanding their needs, understanding the condition, then negotiation is going to be flawlessly moving, and it's going to be in the benefit of both the employee and the manager. So again, negotiating techniques, if everybody looks into the win-win solution and everyone involved, it will be far more interesting and beneficial, and it builds goodwill and loyalty. The Art of Negotiating, a book by Gerard Nierenberg, said, negotiating is a means of achieving one's goals in every relationship, regardless of the circumstances. I love that. That tells me if you know how to negotiate, by building that human trust, by understanding the other person's needs, interests, then you're going to be able to get what you need in every negotiation. There are exceptions when things are out of your control, the other person's control, but most negotiations could be a win-win if both parties are willing to do that. So now when we put the different definitions together, this is one thing I teach my students in high school is, when we define something, look at many sources and then create your own definition based on the different input. You become the chef. You become the person who will produce a new dish, a new definition. So now by putting everything together, it becomes the art of applying a fair process to reach an effective, creative, and win-win solution to satisfy the interests and the needs, and even the wants of all the parties involved in the negotiation. So that is very important. And even we can add, notice after the word and, I left it on purpose, there is another word you can add there. And it says, and even the wants and the desires, very important in the negotiation. Facts about negotiation. What do we know about it? The first thing we need to know about negotiation, let's look at the myths. You have to be tough to negotiate effectively. Guess what? Are babies tough? Babies are the best negotiators. When they cry, they get what they need. Why? When a baby cries, parents have to stop everything they are doing in order to take care of that baby. So they're negotiating without even realizing that they're negotiating. So really, you don't have to be tough to negotiate effectively. Negotiation is all about fighting with others. That is a misconception and a myth. It's the domain of the few, the shrewd and diplomats. We all negotiate. Even everyone on this call is negotiating daily. We negotiate with ourselves, with our spouses if we are married. We negotiate with our siblings. We negotiate with our employers. We negotiate even when you are driving on the freeway. Is when even you want to go from one lane to another, you are negotiating in an indirect way. You need to have the upper hand in negotiation. That is not good. That's conquering mentality. It's not about win-win approach. You need to be manipulative and tricky. That's deceitful. This is a lose-lose proposition, because even though you win, you lost morally. You lost ethically. So there is no win, even if you win really materially. Negotiation is a form of ritual, not necessarily. Look how many deals are done on the golf course, not in the boardroom. So which means people are playing golf and they are doing negotiation. When you go, for example, to different conventions and summits and conferences, a lot of deals are done at the conference site, at that summit, not necessarily in a formal ritualistic situation. And you waste time in negotiating. There is no wasted time. What are the facts? We negotiate every day and everywhere. Everything is negotiable. Believe it or not, many people think, I want to go to the store. I lived in Jerusalem, in Israel. So in essence, I would go to the market in the bazaars, and I will negotiate everything from the tomatoes to the clothing, to anything that I bought in Jerusalem. I remember I never paid the price that is on that item. We always negotiated. We negotiate contracts. We negotiate terms. Credit lines. I'm a credit and trade finance professional. I always negotiated credit lines and terms with my clients, and I'm teaching companies right now, whether you are small or big, how to negotiate contracts, how to negotiate terms and credit lines. Even with your banker, you can negotiate the terms of a loan. You can have ethics and still negotiate effectively. Underline the word ethics. I believe in ethics. I believe in morality in everything we do, because that gives us huge success, and we can go to sleep at night with a good conscience. Everyone can become a good negotiator, guaranteed. It's a skill. You don't have to be born with it. Babies know it, but then we can hone that ability so they can become effective and successful negotiators. Negotiation is a process of exploration of interests and needs and satisfying those needs. Notice nowhere wants and desires. First, the needs, because once you satisfy someone else's needs, you build the trust. When trust is there, now you can move on to the fulfilling your wants and desires. Negotiation is situational. There is no one size fits all. Even when you negotiate one deal with one person, the next morning, the same person, don't think you can negotiate the same deal. There will be other situations. A good example in business, because of inflation and because of the geopolitical environment, a contract that was at this price today might not be at the price tomorrow. Look what happened to the 99-cent stores. All of them are closing in the state of California, Nevada, and so forth, because they couldn't hack it after the pandemic. Even the dollar store, my wife was telling me, they're raising all their prices. Imagine one of the reasons that 99-cent store is really going bankrupt is because they changed the paradigm. Think about it. When I go to the store that says 99 cents, and for many decades, you can go there and buy items at 99 cents, and then they start playing the game. Oh, it's $1.99, $2.99, $3.99. All of a sudden, people say, wait a minute, the paradigm has shifted. This is deceit. I used to go there. I stopped going there. But imagine how many more stopped going to 99-cent store. Where are they today? In bankruptcy. So they try to negotiate one-sidedly. They think, oh, our costs have risen. We negotiate without the consent of the consumer. That's why you go bankrupt. So that's very important to understand. If you understand the needs of everybody and it's a win-win solution, you stay in business. If you start negotiating on your terms without understanding the needs, sooner or later, you will not be in business. Negotiation could be quick and ad hoc or planned and deliberate. Yes, again, there is no one size fits all. It's situational. It's a continuum. So now let's talk about the negotiation styles, the different approaches and strategies. Notice this slide has everything that you could read in multiplicity of books. One book will talk about how negotiation is quick and ad hoc. Other books will tell you that it's intentional, it's slow, it's planned, it's deliberate. In some books, you read about the psychology. In fact, when we think about compromise, accommodation, collaboration, so forth, it came out of psychology. So they look at competitive and collaborative. There is positional, there's principle, opponents versus partners, distributive versus integrative, win-lose, win-win. So I decided to put everything that I've read into a continuum, from quick to ad hoc to slow and planned, from being competitive to being collaborative, and in between, you do compromises. So really, it's up to you to navigate from right to left, from left to right, depending on the situation and the people you are working with and negotiating with. Let's look at the quick style, the rabbit, the hare. But guess what? The turtle won the race. But many times when you go and sprint as a rabbit, why? There is a moment for that. Like if there is a fire raging, a firefighter is not going to come and say, let me study the terrain, let me talk to the neighbors, let me see if the neighbors would like me to put water or not. No, no, no. You see fires start hosing, and then you deal with the consequences. Why? Because quick style is time conscious, one-time meeting, deal close, short-term relationship, price is a main consideration. There are emotions, high emotions, cannot get the best outcome. That's when you say, let me do it ad hoc and quick. What about the turtle? Slow and steady wins the race. The hare might win the battle, but the turtle will win the war and win the race over the long term, because no time conscious, many meetings, long-term relationship is key, because the relationship will get you to the promised land. Many issues to consider, many variables to take care of. Emotions have to be controlled, and you're looking for the best outcome. So now, negotiation principles. There are not too many. That's the beauty. Every book you read, you can put them into 4 categories. There are no rules. Therefore, you can lead and establish an agenda. Everything is negotiable. Ask for the better deal. There is no reason to accept the other offer. Always ask for a better deal. And yes, learn to say no. Wow, see how easy? Say no. You'll be surprised many times. No creates scarcity mentality. And when we say no to somebody, you might challenge them to keep them in the negotiation. Now, negotiation is a process to an end. Therefore, processes have stages. So we're going to talk about the 4 stages of the effective negotiation. But before we do that, let me show you how important your role is, especially as a small business owner, and that you'll be negotiating. Look how many hats you are going to be putting on as a negotiator, as an effective negotiator. First, the detective, then the lawyer, the judge, the accountant, the peacemaker, the creative artist, the psychologist, the sociologist, the anthropologist, the diplomat, etc. You see, when you look at detective, because you want to find every possible piece of information to really break the mystery, break the code. The lawyer, what do lawyers do to win in court? They prepare, they present, they try to find the whys, the motives, and the other in the other side's case better than they can. Wow, you always prepare to know the case of your opponent better than they themselves know it. Judge, what do judges do? You see them sitting on the bench, listening. They don't just make decisions. First they listen, then they make a decision only when you have listened to all the facts and demands, not before. Accountants, we check everything carefully. We check for consistency. We check all the numbers. Peacemakers, now the human approach. Your aim is to reach a mutual agreement at the human level, building the trust. And the creative artist is to say, everyone in the negotiation is going to be a winner. Let's create a masterpiece that everyone will enjoy. And now, understanding psychology, sociology, anthropology, diplomacy, all of that, will come into play. Your own expertise, your own reputation, your own character is going to help you negotiate a better deal and being an effective negotiator. Because if people trust you, I believe trust is the basis for every successful negotiation. Now, practical steps to effective negotiation. The first thing you need to understand, there are no fixed formulas and no one size fits all. So now, since we talked about negotiation is a process to an end, what are the stages? Stage one, the detective. Detectives plan, they investigate, and they also prepare. Now let's look about the detectives. What do they do? First, as a detective, know your outcome. Many times when you go to a private investigator, you tell them, I want to hire you to do 1, 2, 3. You give them the deliverables, the desired outcome. Know your outcome, know your bottom line, know your BETNA, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, meaning know when to walk away. Decide what you want from the deal, aim high. Don't set your sights on one result only, because if that doesn't happen, that's it. No, always have alternative of solutions. Try to find the best deal. Never accept the first deal that comes. Think carefully, creatively, strategically, and look ahead. Investigate, interview, inspect, and research. Know what the other side needs, whether it's personal, corporate, or combination, their want, and what they can afford to give or take, and leave egos at home. So you see, this is fascinating multiplicity of roles that as a detective you need to assume and understand the different facets, so to speak, that you need to uncover. Again, prepare, always. You never stop preparing. As a detective, have all your facts and figures ready, because before you go into the lawyer stage, are the facts ready? Do not arm yourself with tricks. Have a fair criteria. Work the issues, no quick fixes. Remember, it's the turtle that won the race, not the hare. Identify interests of both parties. Think consequences. Anticipate. Always think, if I demand this, what would be the response? What would be the reaction? Remember, response and reaction are two different things. Reaction is emotional. Response is cognitive and mental. Practically, when people respond, they have thought about it logically. When people react, they haven't thought, they acted emotionally. So are they going to respond or are they going to react? Think about the other side's position and answers. Put yourself in their shoes. Be empathetic. Explore the strengths and weaknesses of both parties, including you. Don't have any blind spots. A lot of negotiations fail because you don't know what you do not know about yourself. There you have a blind spot. Think of the makeup of the negotiating teams on both sides, their styles, personalities. Get to know the individuals. That is very important. Many times people, when they negotiate, they think they negotiate based on the subject matter, on the item. We negotiate with people. If people want to see, make sure that you have some video, some visual. If they want to hear, make sure that they have some audio. And if they want to touch, have something written to them. Have a CD, have some type of a production they can see, hear, and touch all at the same time. That's amazing. So you are involving all the senses of learnings. And then, if you do not have enough time to prepare, do not negotiate. Very simple. Don't enter negotiation in an ad hoc manner unless the situation requires it or the subject matter is trivial. And remember, negotiation is not a game. There are books that call the game of negotiation. That's fine, but negotiation itself should not be a game. The reason we use the word negotiation as a game, because games have rules. All what you understand, negotiation have rules. But remember, we said there are no rules. And this is the oxymoron. Yes, the continuum. There are rules and there are no rules, which means you can set your own rules, because the human brain needs pathways, needs tracks. So you set the track for how the negotiation is going to be really executed. Now, prospectors have picks. Do you have your own pick in negotiation? If you want to find the treasures, the win-win solutions, the creative approaches, where is your pick? P for understanding the positions, I, the interests of everybody involved. C, the concerns of everybody. And K, arm yourself with the knowledge of the situation, the person, the subject matter, their styles, what makes them tick. So knowledge is power. But also the Hindu Veda says knowledge is wealth. So this pick will arm you with knowledge and wealth at the same time to win that negotiation. What do we need to know? What you must have in any negotiation, otherwise you walk away. What you would like to have, what would be great to have. See, in any negotiation, your must are your needs, your core. Then I would like to have, great. That's the icing. So the must is the cake. The would like is the icing. Would be great to have is the cherry on top. So that's how you have to understand. So know your counterpart's position. What do they want? What is important to them? What are they willing to negotiate and why now? And are they able to deliver? What do they bring to the negotiation table? What resources do they have? If you look at all of this, then you are in a good position to understand yourself and the other party. Because when you understand what they want, you know what you can give up and cannot give up. So really understanding what they want, it helps you. Can I deliver? Can I give? They want, that means you have to give to supply. Can I supply what they need in order for that want and need to be fulfilled? If you cannot supply, there is no negotiation, because we are going to learn later it's about ability. If you're not able, then you cannot negotiate. That was stage one. Now you are prepared, you understand, you have investigated research. Now stage two, you need to show the why. You become the lawyer. You present to his honor or her honor to say, Judge, this is what we are going to do. We need a resolution here. Cover every contingency. Make sure, remember, if you are presenting in court, you don't want the other party to know something that you do not know. Many times in court cases, you see that one of the attorneys, whether the defense or prosecutor, they will object that the other party presented a fact that they didn't know about, that they should have, these facts should have been disclosed in the discovery period and so forth. So cover every contingency, explain. Don't insult the intelligence of the other party. Many times in shows you see one of the attorneys starts insulting the judge. What happens? Or going against the judge, they'll be in contempt of court. Translate your position into benefits for the other side. Be flexible. Things could change. Never use tricks or false information. Focus on people, build rapport, become fully acquainted with the facts, and always stay calm. Use visuals. Great attorneys will show visuals, bring movies. Even the witnesses themselves are a human visual. And many times, even when they put the defendant on trial, sometimes they ask, come dressed in a suit, sometimes they know, come dressed in a different way, so you can have the sympathy of the jury, for example. Visuals affect our minds and hearts. Reveal progressively and overlay. That's exactly what the defense and the prosecutors do. They ask questions from the different witnesses on the stand. They overlay. They never come and bombard, because they want the jury to hear the whole story. You are telling a story, and you go step by step until you hit to the conclusion. Deliver the message with zeal and passion. Remember, aim to build up the trust and confidence. That is the key. Now we go into stage three. Remember, prepared, presented, now the judge, peacemaker, and creative artist. Listen and learn. That's what judges do. Look for options. Suggest options. Focus on value. Use creativity. Be aware of the perception of power versus the reality of power. You'll be surprised. Sometimes an employee has more power than their manager because of their influence. We have what we call positional power. The position gives a manager the power, but not necessarily the influence. But sometimes someone who is extremely persuasive without a title has influence power. The influence is far more powerful than positional. That's why people could lead from any position. Leadership is about influence, not just power and position. So that is very important. Be prepared to deal with the other side's tactics, but do not use tactics yourself. Use questions. It's huge. Questions are very, very important in life. In fact, the more questions you ask, that means you speak less, the other person is speaking more. The more person speaks, the more you get to know that person. You can have use closed, open-ended, rhetorical, reflexive, etc. Then draw out the other side. That is the key. Make the other side tell you what they need, what they want. Because once you know the other person, now you know what to actually prescribe. When you go to the doctor, believe it or not, doctors are dumb to the condition. They don't know what you are going through. That's why they have to diagnose. You have to tell the doctor what you are feeling. They ask you the pain, is it from 1 to 10, and so forth. Once you tell the doctor, then you really are diagnosing. The doctor is just using their knowledge and expertise to say, oh, I have seen this case, I've read this. When you are experiencing this and this and this, then this could be the diagnosis. Try it on WebMD. The other day, I tested out and all of a sudden you get 36 possibilities. But then WebMD says, if you are feeling this, if it takes 5 minutes, within 15 minutes, you have to go to the emergency room. If it goes above, then eliminate all these 36 items, only these 3 apply. So that's exactly what you are doing to the doctor. By using question, drawing out, you will get to the diagnosis and then to prescribing the right remedy, strategy, or tactic. Remember, bargaining is a danger zone because many things can go wrong in that zone. Now, what do you do in stage 3? You align needs, interests, and wants. That's why it's a danger zone, because it's a moment of alignment. You have to keep going until you go in the right track. Look for similarities, common grounds. Do not become adversarial. Because many times when you bargain, you could be offended. Pride could surge. Egos. All of a sudden, it derails the negotiation. Separate the people from the problem. Never point fingers at the person. Always together attack the problem. Always show strength and humanity. That is, we are human beings. Reach their heart to reach their brain and their mind. You can't reach their mind if the heart is really not with you. When we build trust, we touch the heart. Once the heart is in, now the mind says, I concur, I confirm. Remember the golden rule. Always do unto others what you want them to do unto you. Again, avoid shady tactics, avoid tricks, avoid manipulation. Honesty is the best policy. It doesn't mean that you have to put all your cards on the table at once, but you have to really show your hand sooner or later. Do it in an overlay, build the trust and the rapport, make sure that the other person is not using tactics, call them out if they are doing, and tell them flat out, I want honesty. In fact, many years ago, I had to go to Australia to negotiate because one of our clients, when I worked for a company, they owed $300,000 in deductions, and I have to go down there to say, okay, you want $1.5 million, and you think that you need 300,000, you held 1.2 million. I want to know, how can we get that paid? So I go down there, 7 a.m. we start the negotiation. The manager comes in and started really using expletives and shutting the doors, coming in and out and so forth. I told my regional manager, don't worry. All these tactics we understand the fogging technique, we understand, let them vent. He comes back in an hour, they let us wait from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., then he comes and so forth. We show them respect. We kept negotiating. By 7 p.m., he says, Eddie, man, I used every trick in the book that I know, and you respected me and you respected your company. At the end of the day, that night, he took us to a beautiful restaurant. He signed the deal, we gave him the credit. He paid 1.2 million, and he agreed to 10% interest if we can. Instead of paying all at once, he pays it over 1 year, and we charge him 10% interest. So we gave him what he needed because that was legitimate debit note, and he paid what he owed the company. But because we are not a bank, we became a bank, and then we charge him, and he paid it with a smile. So that's how we do it. We don't manipulate. We don't give tricks. We don't use shady tactics. Show respect. Keep their integrity. Keep your integrity. And guess what? You will always win. Tactics to avoid. If you are serious about negotiating, you do not need any tricks or smoke screens. Avoid the walkaway tactic. You can do it, but not in a way that is dramatic, like what this Australian guy did, for example. The emotional outburst, outrageous behavior, argue a special case, pretend ignorance or innocence when you know that you are not ignorant. The environment. Oh, sometimes they put you to negotiate in a place that is extremely hot because they feel if negotiators you travel. I've traveled all around the world to negotiate contracts. They put you in a very small room. They go down to the basement. They take you up to the roof and so forth. It's hot. There is no canopy. They play games. Location is very important. And many times they say negotiate on your court. Not if you want to pay win a game, they think come to you to have your play court advantage in your hometown. That's why when you do lawsuits, we say if you are in California, you don't want to be suing someone in Germany. You don't say German law applies. You said the laws of California apply, not the New York. They might say New York is nearer to Germany. No, you have to fly to New York. If you try to get an attorney in New York, it will cost you an arm and a leg. You want to be able to be sued or sue someone in your own jurisdiction. You know the legal structure. You have your attorneys here. You don't have to fly, because if an attorney has to fly, it's very expensive. You see, they play games. So understand in contract negotiation, the location, the place, the rule of law, which law applies, etc., has a bearing. Be on your own turf or in neutral zone. You go first. This is very interesting because the first one that speaks loses, they say. Don't give ultimatum. Time, long days, graveyard shift. They really try to work on you. Like we know Americans' time is money. Let's say an American goes to Japan. The Japanese company said, by the way, how long are you here for? Oh, just 2 days. Now, all of a sudden, they don't start negotiating until 1 hour before you are about to leave, because they know now they can get something. But many times, you just tell them, I'm here as long as it takes, open-ended. Many times you hear of stories, people will travel and you said, just give me your ticket. I would like to confirm it for you. They're just trying to know how long you're going to be in country so they can actually negotiate. In fact, during the Vietnam era, when they were doing negotiation in France, the Americans were asked, how long do you have here? Oh, we are here to negotiate for 6 months. The Vietnamese says, we have an apartment in Paris. Look at the difference. I live here. I have an apartment in Paris. I have all the time in the world to negotiate. So very important to understand that. The nibble, a little more, the higher authority, limited authority, the silence. That is our contract. Take it or leave it. This is our written word. Guess what? We write a contract, we can erase. We write a contract, we can delete. So good or bad guy, the good and bad cop that you see on TV, that's a form of negotiating. The bait and switch, the red herring to create confusion, take it or leave it, the stonewalling, refusing to budge, the trade-offs, the vice, they tighten the screws on you, the low-balling, agree on basic offer, then start with series of by-the-ways, the wins and the flint. So it's like react negatively to the terms or offer. So in essence, all these are tactics. Understand that they exist, but don't use any of them. Instead of tactics, use the PSAP approach. In fact, many years ago, for my master thesis in England, I wrote a book called practically From the Cutting Board to the Cutting Edge, Reinventing Credit in the 21st Century. And there I came across the PSAP, which means a 4-square approach: psychological perspective, sociological, anthropological, and political perspective. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about what these fields of psychology, sociology, anthropology, and political science tell us. Psychology tells me that when people act, they are driven by a strong desire, which means psychology tells me when people have a strong desire, they'll be moved to act. So needs are drivers. When somebody is hungry, they want to eat. When somebody is thirsty, they want to drink. When somebody is lacking air, they want to breathe. They want oxygen. So we understand in any negotiation, what is the air that they need? Where is the water that they need? Where is that? So meaning psychology tells me, see what motivates people, what drives them to action. Sociology tells me, according to Robert Merton, that perception is reality. Whatever people perceive becomes the reality. Then we need to understand the other party's perceptions about the situation. Anthropology tells me that really that perception could also be wrong. So what we need to understand is migrate and link. You see there from Peg Newhouser in her book, Tribal Warfare in Organizations. She says, you start with your point of view, you migrate to their point of view, then you link them to your point of view. So that we call the migrate and link approach. And from the political perspective, we talk about bargaining and negotiation. So that's what's important. Diplomats and political figures understand the power of negotiation through compromise. Compromise is really not about the negative. Compromise meaning finding a platform like the 3 circles of suasion. That's from psychology. Your point of view, their point of view, find the benefits, superimpose it. Now, the beauty about bargain negotiation is when you combine psychology, sociology, anthropology, and political perspectives together, now all of a sudden it's a win-win-win approach, because everybody's needs will be fulfilled and everybody's wants could also be fulfilled, and ultimate desires could be fulfilled if we only build on the zone of mutual benefits. Because what's benefit to me might not be to you. In fact, there's a video we show in the high school to the students to illustrate this point. Is there are 2 persons fighting for an orange juice. No, they were fighting for 2 oranges. They have 1 orange. I want both. And nobody is getting anywhere. So what is really the distributive method? Okay, you take 1, I take 1, 50-50. But then if we ask the question, we ask the first girl, why do you need this orange? Oh, I just need, I'm doing, baking a cake. I need the zest of these 2 oranges. Okay. The other person, what do you need the oranges? I need just orange juice, easy. Juice both and give the practically the skin to the other person, 100%. One got all the skin that they need to get that orange zest, and the other one got 100% of the juice. So again, in negotiation, remember that. Do I need the orange juice or do I need the skin of the orange? Now, tips while bargaining. Beautiful book by William Ury. In fact, if you look at the Middle East history, if you look at the Sinai Peninsula, I lived in Jerusalem in 1982, between Egypt and Israel. They gave back the Sinai back to Egypt. Sinai was within Israeli territory. I used to be a tour guide, and I used to take tourists to Eilat and to the Sinai desert when it was Israel, but then after that became Egypt. Why? Why did the Sinai Peninsula was given back to Egypt by the Israelis? They built it on the William Ury and the Harvard method, is that look for needs. They asked the Israelis, why do you need the Sinai desert for? They said it's a security buffer. So if Egypt decides to attack Israel, we have some defense mechanism, because really the occupation is not complete unless you have tanks and boots on the ground. So they said the Sinai is for a security buffer. They asked the Egyptians, why do you need the Sinai? Oh, that's Egyptian land, is for sovereignty. Notice, one security, the other sovereignty. So all of a sudden they said, okay, what if we put the blue berets to be over the Sinai for security, but with Egyptian flags over the Sinai for sovereignty? Lo and behold, the Sinai was returned to Egypt in 1982. So right there, land was given back, because even the Egyptian quote said Moses was born in Egypt. He was Egyptian, and he toured through the Sinai, and he lived there for 4 years in the Sinai desert and the area. Okay. But because the negotiator didn't say, if Israel positioned this is Israeli land, and if Egypt positioned this is Egyptian land, they would have still the Sinai today would be with Israel. Only when they realized Israel needed it for security, Egypt for sovereignty, then the Sinai today is a reality with Egypt. So now, never make important decisions on the spot. Don't let yourself be hurried. Don't get mad. Don't get even. Get what you want. Always concentrate on getting what you want. In a negotiation, control your own behavior because you cannot control theirs. You can influence someone's behavior, but never control it. To rush is to make mistakes, warn, but do not threaten. Here's a beautiful quote from Fortune de Felice from the 1778. He says, "Rarely is it advisable to meet prejudices and passions head on. Instead, it is best to appear to conform to them in order to gain time to combat them. One must know how to sail with a contrary wind and to tack until one meets a wind in the right direction." See, sometimes in negotiation, we have to wait. Remember the turtle? Time is key. Wait for the right moment, because have you ever tried to bake anything or even bake a cake in the oven and you decide, oh, I see it's rising, let me take it out. The outside could be beautifully baked, but the inside is not done. A chicken, you can see beautiful on the outside, but the inside is still raw. What happens if you eat raw chicken? You could have a disease after that. So very important, bake it completely, not half done. So wait until it's fully baked. Barriers to cooperation. In his book, William Ury talks about 5 barriers. Your reaction could be a barrier. The other side's emotion is a barrier. Their position, even your position, their dissatisfaction. Also, I can add your dissatisfaction, their power could be a barrier. Now, Kenny Rogers, I love what he said in The Gambler. You've got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. That's exactly what we need to do in a negotiation, is know what's in your hand. Yes, fold them. Yes, hold them, walk away, or even run. So in negotiation, get the spirit of this song, because remember, we don't want to give ultimatums. We don't want to walk out. But the spirit here, know when. It's the timing of what you have in your hand, what they have, uncovering the whys, and then negotiating in a win-win approach that both needs, interests are really fulfilled. Stage 4, now the accountant. Notice from stage 1, the detective, to being a lawyer, to being a judge. Now stage 4 is the accountant. Here where you get to the agreement stage, where you agree who is going to make the final decision. When is it going to take place? Very important, the timing. When is it going to be finalized? Even the place is important. Check everything, every detail, verify, reaffirm, reconfirm, listen attentively. That's why even with cities, before a contract is signed, attorneys get involved. All T's are crossed, all I's are dotted. Everything in the agreement has to be just so. That's why contracts are important in the United States. Do not accept an agreement that you will regret. Practically, you need to bail out. The deal is not meant to be. Use a deadline to force a decision. Use third party to kill impasses. This is very powerful. Whenever you think that you are not getting anywhere, because maybe the emotions are high, bring a third party to be objective, that both parties respect. And that person or that entity could be really what will continue the negotiation to a successful win-win outcome. Agree only when it is a win-win. Never agree to a win-lose or win-win unless both of you agree this is temporary. We know that we need to do this in order to get to the win-win situation. The global dimension. Phase of negotiation. In fact, this is not just global. Like when people negotiate, first in other countries, you build relationship, exchange information, then try to persuade each other, make concessions, reach agreement. Most people think in the United States, we go straight into number 3, try to persuade, time is money. So here, I want to persuade you to buy my product or to sell me this. Let's make concession, reach agreement. But we forget that it's like going on Amazon, finding the product and ordering it. So really, finding and buying. But what happens sometimes when even before people buy from Amazon, you go look at the product, check competitors, look at reviews of the product. Practically, you are really building an indirect relationship. Relation means trust. Do I trust that source? Can I trust Amazon to deliver? Yes, but can I trust that the person who is on Amazon platform, that product is going to be of high quality, is going to be for the intended use, it will give me the same benefits. What happens if anything goes wrong? Can I return it, and so forth? So that's really building relationship, exchanging information. When you are going back and forth through proxies, you're exchanging. I need this. Now let me see what other people, what reviews are putting, what are they saying about the product? Really, we're going through all 4 stages, but we think that in the West, we're only going through stage 3 and 4. When Western cultures mainly take a transactional, Western culture take transactional. That means 3 and 4. They focus mainly on the last 2. Many other cultures pay more attention to creating a background relationship. They emphasize the social side of the situation over the task. That is very important. There is the human social part and there is the task. Combine the two, because every transaction has 2 elements, the person and the subject matter, the task. So really, we can't be like our brains cannot function on one hemisphere. We have the right and left hemisphere. Just imagine if we decide to excise one part, we are going to be affected as a human being. The same thing in a negotiation, have all 4 stages. Principles of cross-cultural negotiation: gain cultural knowledge to anticipate differences, practice mindfulness, pay attention to the context and the conventions of communication, and yes, develop adaptive skills. This is amazing. In fact, we don't need to be outside Glendale or outside California. You're already involved in a cross-cultural encounter every day, even where you work at the city of Glendale. Because believe it or not, within the city, there are different cultures. Each department has its own culture. Each department is populated by different individuals. Each individual has her own family culture. So really, we are working with multicultural approach. So therefore, practice mindfulness. Be respectful to everyone and everything, and be appreciative of everyone and everything. In fact, there is one sentence that's very important. Many times, a friend of mine, one of my clients, every time we talk on the phone, we say, has anyone told you today that you are amazing? That is really what's important. That's showing appreciation and mindful. Have we stopped every day when we come to the office? Maybe we need to smile. You negotiate when you enter the negotiating room. Are you smiling? Because smile is the shortest distance between 2 people. But a smile starts to build confidence and trust. And then when you come in, even to a negotiation or to where you work, because when you work, you are negotiating. Then you say, guys, today is a wonderful day. You are all amazing. Wow. Just by saying that, you have broken the ice for that morning. You have brightened the day of everyone. If you do that in a negotiating room, it's going to brighten that negotiating room. All of a sudden, people they were stiff before you enter. Now they loosen up a little bit. Example of cross-cultural negotiation. There are 10 common Chinese negotiating tactics. I read a book, amazing. There are 36 tactics and stratagems, but I thought to share some of them because, believe it or not, China is the second economic power today. The United States first, you have China. We need to understand the Chinese are buying property all over the world. Where I live in Rancho Cucamonga, I moved here from Glendale like 24 years ago, 25 years ago almost, and few Chinese were here. Today, most of the places around my area, especially the business area, is owned by Chinese. They bring their own culture. So we need to understand how they think if you want to do business with them. So here are some 10 common Chinese negotiating tactics. They like to control the location and the schedule. They exploit vulnerabilities. They are guilt-tripping you. I've been in China. I've done negotiation. That's a tactic that they use, unless they are your friend. Instilling shame. They playing off competitors. They use intermediaries. They feign anger, even ignorance. Revisit old issues. You thought you closed, they come back to it. They invoke the law, but in China, they can tear a contract. Raising and lowering expectation is continuous. Why? Remember, there is a symbol in China, the wall of China, the wariness of strangers. But there is Confucianism, that's being gentlemanly. And Mao Zedong, that means this is the rules and the little red book. So that's why if you understand China, I have a whole presentation, I have to understand the culture of China by understanding Mao Zedong, the little red book, Confucius, the writing of Confucius, and then understanding the symbolism of the Wall of China and the Art of War by Sun Tzu. These are the three works of literature that every human being should understand that he wants to do business with China, because it molds the whole culture, whether the personal culture from Confucianism into the business culture from Mao Zedong and even Sun Tzu. If you combine all these three works of art and understand these literary works, you will be very successful, understand the Chinese mindset. Skills and qualities. Skills and qualities of the effective negotiator. Here is where we need to understand honesty and integrity, transparency, enthusiasm, creativity, being open-minded, being firm-minded, recognition, need to achieve results, to be seasoned, practice, practice, and practice, having social skills, love of people, be genuinely interested in others, communication skills, being clear, simple, brief in your vocabulary, because brief could, like a picture is worth than 1,000 words. Make your words like a picture. Very few to mean many. Listening skills, listen, 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 modify, adjust, evaluate, assess, and reconfirm. Presentation skills, self-control and teamwork, which means part of emotional intelligence, self-awareness to self-manage, aware of the others to manage the relationship, choose the right behavior, and talent and tenacity. Attention to detail, flexibility, ability to read people, maintain ethical standards, and culturally sensitive. Wow, look how many things you have to do as a negotiator. Amazing. What are the key success factors? I want to share with you the matrix that are very important. I love matrices. Able and willing. There's only 4 quadrants. In negotiation, if you are able, but the other party is, but you are unwilling, nothing happens. If both parties are willing but unable, nothing happens. Unwilling, unable, nothing happens. Both parties have to be able and willing to deliver on the intended agreement. If one party or both are unable, nothing happens. We're wasting our time. Always look at the ability of both parties and willingness to reach a win-win approach. And here is when we look at all the different approaches. Collaboration is about able and willing. Unwilling and able is competing. Unwilling and unable is avoiding. Willing, unable is accommodating. In the middle is compromise. So study those, because one, from loss of focus to long-term focus to lose-lose to win-win. I prefer to be always in the collaborating. Why? Because we have a whole presentation on just this matrix to talk about every item. Always be long-term, not short-term. Always enhance relationship. It takes time to build trust and relationship. Always maintain the goodwill. Once you gain it, especially as a small business, never, never, never lose the trust of your clients. Goodwill and loyalty are built on trust. If they trust you, don't betray that trust. Maintain it. Satisfy mutual needs. Always have creative solutions, and you'll have a win-win. The Harvard Negotiation Project, people, interests, options, and criteria. Criteria has to be fair and legitimate. When people believe that they are negotiating with someone based on unfair criteria, you are not going anywhere. So understand the people, know the interests of all the partners, make sure that there is no one size fits all and one solution only, but a medley of options and alternative solutions. And the criteria of negotiation has to be fair and legitimate. Strategies to effective negotiations. This is amazing. Go to the balcony, ride the clouds, helicopter buff. Sometimes when you are in the negotiating room, you don't see. When you are on the dance floor, you don't see what's happening. Go up to the balcony and see the movement. Step to the side, go native, see through their eyes. Reframe. To change the game, reframe, redirect. Build them a golden bridge. Build on their ideas. Offer a choice. Ask for constructive criticism. Use power to educate. Ask, what is that we want to achieve? Did we achieve it? What would it take to achieve it? Always ask the question, even to negotiators in the room, how can we collectively, collaboratively get to the intended result to fulfill your needs and aspiration and our needs and aspiration? Seek ways to expand the pie, not to divide it. Develop agreement that is superior to the other side's BATNA, best alternative to negotiated agreement. Turn opponents into partners from the beginning by being human, being transparent, being a friend, building the rapport, the trust. Then they are not going to be your opponents. They're going to be your partners, collaborators to attack the problem, not the person, to find that win-win solution. Go slow to go fast. My final thoughts. Negotiation is not a battle of the egos. It's about the we. Negotiation is a process where better agreements can be reached. Work with others, not against them. Always play fair. Listen, listen, listen. Keep the lines of communication open. Check for authority. Very important. Seek options and alternatives. Be courteous, show respect. Always honor and respect them as partners. Acknowledge fears, feelings, emotions, and needs. Respect the other side's point of view. Work side by side. That's one thing I like in negotiation. A round table is better than a rectangular table. Many times on TV, you see the Russian on one side, the Americans on one side, the Chinese one side, the Americans on the other side. When you sit on a round table, there are no sides. It's a round table. You can move it around. You can mix the player. The key is when you sit, when both people are sitting from of the same side, looking at the problem, now they are partners, not opponents. Do not fall into the I versus them atmosphere. Do not lock yourself into rigid demands. That's it, this or nothing. Then you lose your credibility. From the beginning, be open-minded. Let's find a solution. Let's see this journey where it takes us to get to a win-win solution. Understand the power of perception. Make sure that people perceive you as honorable and good, not because you want to deceive them, but because you are really good, because perception is reality. Look into feelings, emotions, commonalities, focus on thoughts, needs, and wants. Ask questions. Show interest in your partner. Attack issues, not the person. Do not stereotype. Reach for positive power. In fact, do not stereotype. I went to China in 2006. Every time I travel, I always read a book to say, what do I do in a cultural way? They said, don't look at Chinese in the eye. We enter with top officials of the Chinese Council for Promotion of International Trade, CCPIT, and the guy was looking us in the eye. Here is a Chinese high official looking us in the eye. The book says, don't look them in the eye. He was accommodating a Western culture, and he was practically educated in the West. So he understood that, which means the joy method. Do not judge, observe, yield. Every encounter, see what the mirror technique, whatever they do mirror, you'll be in a safe zone. Seek doables. There are no quick fixes. Use differences for mutual growth. Be honest, fair, and sincere. Avoid plays, games, and manipulations. Go after what you want, but maintain ethical behavior. Be prepared to walk away when necessary. Like bankruptcy is the last course if you are deeply in debt. But when I teach financial literacy, there are 15 steps before number 16 to go bankrupt. If you reach 15, you could easily solve 1 through 14. Bankruptcy is the last thing. So that's exactly negotiation. Walk away is the last thing. If you focus on winning the battle, you will lose the war. Pursue problem solving, not the power game. I love acronyms. Here is one of the takeaways. When you think of the word negotiation, the N is needs, E for emotion, G for the golden rule and golden bridge, O for options, T for targets, I for interest, A, action and attitudes, T for trust, I, what is important, I for important, O, open-mindedness and opportunity, and negotiated agreement to fulfill the needs of all. Conclusion. A win-win outcome. What is the real focus of effective negotiation? I like what Abraham Lincoln said, do I not destroy my enemies by making them my friends? So in any negotiation, if you make the other party your friends, you will get to a win-win solution. And here is a riddle. A man in the Middle East was an owner of 17 camels. If you have a pen and paper, just write it down on paper. He divided the camels between his 3 sons, stating that the eldest son would get half of them. Now take 17 divided by 2. The second one would get 1/3 of them, divided by that number by 3. And the youngest son would get 1/9 of them, divided by 2. The sons sat down to negotiate, but unable to figure out a solution, they approach an all-wise lady in the village. So we have by 2, by 3, and by 9, because 1/9. So you multiply 1/9, 1/3, and 1/2. Just imagine, is that doable? Because the father said, you cannot kill a camel. You cannot have a fraction of a camel. But they approached an old wise lady in the village. What do you think the old wise lady proposed? Take a minute, all of you on the call. What do you think the old lady proposed? She's the wise lady of the village. Do you think the way they divided the camels ended by killing one camel? Or they all stayed alive? What do you think? And how did each receive his inheritance without cutting a camel? It's not a trick question. It's just a mathematical question. What do you think happened? And feel free to unmute and talk about it. Any takers?
I'll jump in. I gotta say, Eddie, this one's kind of stumping me. I mean, the only thing I can really think about is maybe, you know, instead of doing it by camel, they do it by weight. And so, you know, just on the graphic right here, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. So maybe there's a way to divide it evenly, half, you know, a third and a ninth, according to weight, that doesn't kill out the camel.
I love that.
That might be thinking too far outside the box.
But you know, thank you, David. That's great. But guess what happened? That old lady had one camel. She decided to give them her camel. So everybody in the village said, oh, how selfless, but how cruel of them to take that old lady's camel. But what do you think? Did the old lady get her camel back, or she lost it? Do the calculation now, based not on 17, but 18 camels. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 18 divided by 9 is 2. When you add them together, how many camels do you get, David?
So you get one camel left.
Exactly. So now each one got their own camels, and she got her camel back. So, and that's how it was. It took an old wise lady in the village. She gave them first her camel to help them divide without killing a camel. See that the creative way? They had to divide, but division meant if they only start by 17, they would have cut one camel. I love the weight one, but this is amazing. They still got each one what they needed, and they kept it without killing a camel. And that's exactly what negotiation is all about. Don't kill anyone in the negotiation. Find a third party, apply wisdom and knowledge, and lo and behold, each one will get their fair share without injuring the other party. And with that, I think this is amazing. We come to the end of this presentation. So if you have any question, I'll be here, and I'll move it back to Jennifer and David. So
wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. That was really thank you, Eddie, for that fantastic presentation. So many amazing takeaways there. We're running right up against the hour, or the hour-and-a-half session. So that's great. So I saw that you left your email in the last slide, and so I anticipate that anyone that has questions will be able to email you there. There's definitely a lot to chew on for that, and a lot of fantastic tools and tips. That negotiating is something that is very hard, and definitely a skill that can be practiced. So I'm curious, just very quickly, Eddie, if there's any guidance you have on how to start small, how to practice in maybe some non-business impacting ways, so that you can kind of flex that muscle a little bit and get some get some practice doing this.
Yeah, in a non-business practice negotiation, in reality, you can negotiate when you go, let's say, to a hotel. You can negotiate when you go to a restaurant. You can negotiate at home, believe it or not. That means all the techniques what we learned today is if somebody asks you to do something at home and you are busy doing something else, maybe you can negotiate by saying, I understand you want me to do this for you. When do you need it by? Because at this moment, I'm working on these things and I'm in the zone. Until when I finish, I'll be able to do that. Is this emergency? Is this critical? Does it need to be done at this moment or not? So when we can actually ask all these questions, then what happens? They're going to work with us. So by understanding the other person needs, we can also help ourselves. So that's one way of
Fantastic.
negotiating. You can
Okay.
do the same
Well,
with your boss.
wonderful.
If you are an employee,
Yeah.
you can do the same thing with your boss. Imagine as employees, we get a lot of demand from our bosses, but sometimes the boss does not understand our timetable. There is nothing wrong to tell the boss, let me show you my timetable. Let me show you what I have, my to-do list. I've done that many, many times with my old bosses, even as a consultant with my clients. I always tell my clients, what are the deliverables? When do you need them by? And this is my time because I travel. I tell my clients, and I've never, now 18 years almost in business, and I've never fought fires, and I travel around the world. Every client of mine, they never call me on my cell phone when I'm out of the country. I tell them before I leave, I don't fight fires. I teach all my clients how to be proactive without fighting fires. And this is really amazing. A lot of people think we have to keep fighting fires. No, we don't. We don't really need to fight fires at all. The way I do it is communicate your to-do list and your priorities with others and understand their priorities and the to-do list. This is a key. When a boss comes to you and asks you to do 1, 2, 3, ask the boss, thank you, boss. I know that that you are going to do 1, 2, 3. Tell me, when do you want item 1, item 2, item 3? By the way, boss, I'm working on these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If these have to go here, help me out. I'm willing to do yours first. You'll be surprised. Somebody says, fine, do mine first. Don't worry about the others. Others said, you know what? I can see you have more important here. This can wait. That's how we negotiate, by putting our cards on the table, being transparent, and managing expectations. Negotiations about really managing the expectations of the others and vice versa. What they expect from us, what we expect from them.
That's fantastic. And that kind of is a callback as well to effective management of your time, because definitely one leads into the other and it creates better business practices overall. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. You'll see that we dropped the link for the survey in the chat. Please take your time to fill that out. We really value your feedback in making these as useful as possible for all of you. And hopefully you will join us on Tuesday the 23rd for the third installment of this, which is Customer Service Adventure. Customer service, it's everybody's business. That's the title of that one. So thank you again, Eddie, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you, everyone, for joining the call. Hope you have a wonderful day as well.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, I think this is amazing. Thanks, David. So
absolutely. Have a great day.
yeah. Bye-bye.